Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land, and welcome to DC Fans United. So, I went for a little walk. It's a nice day out. We finally got some nice weather, and I brought a couple of comic books with me. Now, I happen to really like these two books. I'd read them before, and yeah, thought I'd do a little video review about them. So, Convergence, if you don't remember, was that event that happened about 2 years ago. I think it was in 2016. So Convergence was a big event, and it had a whole slew of tie-in books. Um, very many tie-in books. I believe there was over 40 sets of them, and they're all these two-shots. So there's a number one and a number two, and that's it. So it's pretty cool, and they all tie into the main storyline. So in this one, Convergence, The Titans, number one. As you can see on the cover, we've got Roy Harper and Donna Troy and Starfire and Roy Harper's daughter, Leanne. So that was one thing I think a lot of people, if they did read this, were probably drawn to. They're like, oh, she's back. So I'll go ahead and open it up. Now, this issue was written by Fabian. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name for sure, but I'm going to say Nisia was the writer. Ron Wagner was the penciler, and Jose Marzan did the inks. So, in this issue, the Titans are going to be facing off against the Extremists, who are these guys here. They're bad guys. So, the premise in all these tie-ins is each group has to fight each other. And if they lose, their city they're representing is destroyed. So we have this cool splash page on the first page. It's an old school cover, or old school picture of the Titans. So that's cool. Robin and Aqualad and Speedy and Wonder Girl and everybody. So we open it up, and there's two pages which are kind of flashbacks. So if you don't know a lot about Red Arrow, or if you just are wanting to kind of reminisce about it. So there's like that famous old cover where he's addicted to drugs and Green Arrow finds out about it, and Hal Jordan confronts him. So there's that and other stuff like when he has his daughter and when he's first being Arsenal and when he loses his arm in Cry for Justice. Oh, I don't know. Cry for Justice is so controversial. I should probably do a review of it sometime. And then when his daughter dies. So that's interesting. They show him seeing it. The way it is in Cry for Justice, she's in, Star City when Prometheus destroys it. So I don't know. There's probably multiple comics of her dying. In any case, he is remembering all that in dream sequence, but it's really just for the reader. And he wakes up and, he has one less arm. So then we go to the next page. So he's walking around, and they're in Gotham City. There's a whole bunch of Gotham cities, of course, from different timelines. So he's in Gotham City, and the dome is over it. So he has his cybernetic arm isn't working, but none of the metahuman's powers work either. So he's walking around, and it's been a year that the dome has been up. And he's been helping out at this children's place, helping out the kids and stuff. So that was one thing I liked about all of these Convergence tie-ins too, is they talk about and show how the heroes and characters cope with not having their powers for a year and what they do in the meantime. So then there's the part that always happens where the bad guy, I think it's like Telos or something. He's the guy that basically is in control of all this. He says the dome's coming down, and that they're getting their powers back, but they have to fight each other, and whoever loses, their city is destroyed. So then we see Starfire and Wonder Girl. Awesome. Everybody loves them. So they were hanging out, and they find out that they've gotten their powers back, and Starfire just straight jumps off the ledge. Donna Troy's like, okay, and then she follows too. So it's pretty cool, and they're flying around. I really like that. Starfire really enjoyed getting her powers back after all that time. So Roy calls them, and he tells them he's going to go to his arsenal. Get it? and it literally is an arsenal. He's got all kinds of weapons and stuff. So Batman had given him a bunch of money to work with that children's center and to help with the city and stuff. And they mention it a few times in these comics too, that the other heroes are tied up. So that's why there's just a few here, because the others, like Superman and Batman, are all dealing with other events. All these Convergence things are happening at the same time. So, and if I remember right, there's 80 cities involved. So they see this explosion, and they realize that the other group is attacking them. So Starfire and Donna Troy fly over to see what it is, and we see it's the Extremists. So these guys are some bad dudes. They're really, really strong. They defeated the Justice League of their Earth and took over their Earth, and they've destroyed whole planets. And they're here to fight the Titans. And they were in a recent issue, well, not a recent issue, but a recent review I did was of Countdown to Final Crisis. I think it was issue 29. In any case, I'll put a link to it in the description box, and it's got the Extremists in it. So they're some tough, really bad guys. And then Starfire straight up attacks. She hits the one that's called Gorgon, and then the one that's called Tracer hits her and takes her down. And then Lord Havoc, who's like their leader, hits Donna Troy. So they're really the Titans are strong here, but they're really outclassed too. So they fight and they do their best, but they're having a hard time. So Roy sees what's going on, goes and grabs his arm. He's got his arm there, puts it on. He's finally able to use it again. So, and then I really like this panel. He shows up. Looks awesome, right? So he's there, and just in the nick of time, because it wasn't going good for the good guys. So he shoots a bunch of electric arrows, and it messes up Gorgon. And then they're all there, and they're facing off against Lord Havoc. And then this guy, who's called Dream Slayer, he's all into like psychological stuff and how to mess with people psychologically. He says that his opponents will fight each other, and then Donna says, "Why would we do that?" And he says, "Because if Roy Harper betrays you both now, he will get what his heart truly desires." Uh-oh. And then we see Lord Havoc's got his daughter. He said he brought her back from the timeline before she was killed. And by the way, check out this. Roy's got this cool, I think it's cool. He's got this gun thing that pops out of his arm. So he's got some more serious weaponry than Green Arrow ever did, but he does go by the name Arsenal. So he pops that out, and then he sees his daughter, and he says, Leanne. So he can get her back, supposedly, if he betrays his friends. So then he's thinking about it, and they say, "What are you going to do?" And then we see it's real dramatic, you know, the standoff. And then his gun switches, it whirls and splits both directions, so it's pointing at his two friends. She says, "Roy." And then we see this final page, this full splash page, Roy's. He fired off his gun. So it's a real cliffhanger. Did he shoot his friends to try and get his daughter back? I guess we'll find out, because I'm going to review the second issue right now. But at the very end, there's this cool thing, and it's like this in all the tie-in issues, where they give you a bit of history from the old school comics about the Titans, so you know more about them, or whatever character they're talking about. Like right here, this is in Cry for Justice, when Prometheus tears his arm off. This is why Roy doesn't have two arms. So it's really good. They give you a bunch of backstory. You know, a lot of people just ragged on Convergence, maybe because they've only read the main story, but I think there's a lot of good tie-ins, and they all have different artists and writers for the most part, so a lot of it depends just on who. Okay, sorry if the video jumped. I had to pause the video because a train was going by pretty close by, and it really would have drowned me out. So we're going to go ahead and move on to issue number 2. These are all 2 shots, so this will hopefully wrap things up. Although we find out that it doesn't entirely. It's tied into the main story. So, anyways, we're gonna go ahead and start off. I like the covers. That was one thing that drew me to these to begin with. Is the covers are really cool, I think, and I like these characters. All right, so we see he's facing off against, I'm assuming, Dreamslayer. And I always thought Starfire looked really cool in the foreground on this. Alright, so we'll go ahead and start off, and it picks up right where we left off at the end of the last issue on this cliffhanger. So, he's got his guns pointed at Donna and Starfire, and he fires, and oh, that's so cool. I didn't notice this before. It's called Try for Justice. You know, because the big issue where he lost his daughter and his arm was called Cry for Justice, or that story arc. So they called this Try for Justice. That's interesting. So he fires his guns, and of course he doesn't shoot his friends because he's a hero. And it actually goes and hits these two cranes, and they break and they fall, and it's right above the bad guys. So everyone's like, what? You know, why did you do that? And then he fires off an arrow and swings over there, and he grabs his daughter. And then, he grabs his daughter here. So this all happens really fast, I'm sure. And he grabs and he swings, and then he pulls the, I think he pulls, oh, okay. The reason he used the cranes, I'd forgotten this, sorry. He uses the cranes just so he has something to shoot his arrow onto, so that he can get close enough. It was just so he could grab his daughter. So he has his daughter now, and then he figured that help would show up right then because he'd called them a little bit ago. So right then, and you can see they're happy. I really like the way they're drawn throughout. Like, I'd never really heard of this artist before, Wagner, but I liked his art on this. So we got a dumb ad, and then we see some more of the Teen Titans have shown up, or I guess they're just called the Titans in this. But the Titans show up. So we've got Cyborg and Beast Boy, and now they're here to help, and they both go in and they're attacking. Oh, and it also notes, too, because, of course, Beast Boy didn't have his powers while the dome was up. So he was trapped as a pigeon, it says. He was stuck as a pigeon for a year. And, of course, Cyborg couldn't move because all of his cybernetic stuff didn't work. So now Roy has his daughter, and he's talking to her, and it's really her. You know, it's not some kind of trick. It's not a clone or something weird. It's really her from the same timeline just before she died. So they're all, you know, this is a pretty epic battle. They're all fighting. And he has to take her to somewhere safe because he is not going to lose her again. Like, no way. So he takes and puts her in the bunker and is going to leave because he has to go back into the battle. But he talks to her for a bit first. You know, it's sweet. You got some father-daughter stuff. And, you know, that's cool. I think this is something fans really wanted to see after the death. You know, this is like a total... You know, I don't know if this is canon, per se, especially after Rebirth, but I think this is just something people wanted to see. Like, bring her back, you know? Why did she have to die? So then, before he leaves, Dreamslayer shows up. And he's like, haha, I'm here to mess with you some more. And he takes... I'm pretty sure he takes the daughter away again. And he's like, why do you keep messing with me? And he's got all these missiles and stuff that pop out. Like, he's got some serious weapons. And he fires them at the Dreamslayer, but he's, you know, not gonna be susceptible to stuff like that. And he's like, why are you doing this to me? And Dreamslayer's talking about how he likes to torment people and that it's easy just to beat them in battle, that he in particular wants to torment Roy, and that's how he knows how, is with his daughter. And we see Starfire back at the battle. She says to keep hammering Lord Havoc. He's the biggest threat. And Lord Havoc, you see them all hitting, and Lord Havoc's like, threat? I've destroyed entire planets. So then the Titans they have to back off. They're like, we're not strong enough for this. This is horrible. What are we going to do? And they talk about how the other heroes are all busy with the other Convergence stuff. So let's see. They have to take off. Lord Havoc's trying to kill him. You see he fires this big beam and hits the building, or bridge. So a big chunk of bridge is destroyed. And then they're watching it from Roy's bunker. So basically, Dreamslayer's like, look, you got to switch sides. You know, he puts him up to it again. It's completely like the first issue where he had a gun pointed at his friends, and he's saying, if you want your daughter back, you got to attack your friends. And look how evil that guy. The extremists are just like seriously villainous. Like that's their, like villains are kind of cliche in comic books, but this guy's just like evil. Like that's what he does. So Roy activates all these weapons. So he had all kinds of defense, like guns, like big weapons installed throughout the city. And so he targets Starfire, and you're like, is he going to do it? Is he going to shoot her? And yeah, he does it. He shoots. Boom, she gets hit and goes down. And then suddenly his daughter's back. So he's reunited with her. And then the main bad guy there, he says, you got to shoot all of your friends. And then he's talking about how it's fun being evil, essentially. And then the daughter runs to Roy, and he's got her back. And right when he has her back, he says, all right, activate secondary target locks. So it's all the extremists. And then they all get shot down. And it talks about how these are like special guns, too. That, yeah, it's Beast Boy says it here. Where did these guns come from, and how come they're tougher than we are? So they aren't regular, just military weapons. They're special, especially strong. So they all shoot the extremists, and then we see Starfire fly by. So I presume she got hit with a weaker one or something. So yeah, all the bad guys are getting hit. Dreamslayer's not happy. He's going up. He says, you duplicitous, despicable, wait, what are you doing? And Roy says, override, system controls, activate EMP. So the EMP goes off, and it messes up the Dreamslayer's portal. Then he gets sucked back through the portal, and of course it knocks out Roy's cybernetic arm, so he has to take it off. And see, back at the battle, oh yeah, so the fight ends up that they just leave. The extremists, they just take off, and they fly away to a different part of the city, because they don't want to fight there where the defenses are. And then you go to the next page, and you see a big explosion in the distance. That's where the extremists went to. So they talk about how Roy should stay behind because he's got his daughter back finally, and they don't want to risk it. And all the Titans, well, this group of the Titans is there, and they're all reunited, and she's still alive. It's a happy ending, essentially, but they fly off to fight, and he's still there with her, and it says to be continued in Convergence number 6. So a lot of these Convergence tie-ins are complete issues. The story is all wrapped up, but this one was really tied into the main story. So I guess you have to read Convergence number 6 to find out how the final fight with the extremists goes down. But I think the main thing is that the Roy Harper's daughter, Leanne, is back. And we see at the very end, there's a preview comic for Divergence Red Hood Arsenal. So that was the Red Hood and Arsenal Divergence tie-in for that event, the Divergence event that happened after Convergence, which I haven't read yet. I haven't heard a lot about Divergence either, but I did think this one panel from the preview comic was pretty cool. And I do remember the Red Hood Arsenal New 52 comics looked pretty cool as well. Alright, so let me know what you thought. Did you like these issues? Have you read them before? Have you read much Convergence, if any? And if not, let me know down below. And hey, if you didn't like Convergence, let me know down below too. I always like to hear from you guys. Alright, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and as always, thank you for being a part of DC Fans United.